Hey, Greg here, founder of www.wrestling-divas.web.com, your source for highlighting the most beautiful and deadly entertainers in professional wrestling. My next special guest has established herself as an international pro wrestling superstar and fitness competitor. She is a former WWE developmental diva, and she has captured the Wild World Wrestling Championship and has also competed in such areas as South Korea and Guam. So I'd like to welcome my next special guest, the California Snow Buddy, Chloe, a.k.a. Jennifer Thomas. Hi, Jennifer. How are you today?
I'm great, Greg. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's absolutely an honor for you to be joining me, so thank you very much.
Yes, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, the first thing I noticed about you when reading up on your career is that you started off as a professional bodybuilder and fitness competitor before you ever started in the wrestling industry and began training. So what was the point in your life that you said to yourself, okay, I'm not just going to be a fan of wrestling, I'm not just going to be a bodybuilder, I'm going to be a professional wrestler?
Wrestling came into my life. I was on accident, actually. I wasn't prepared for this whole career path. I was basically training for fitness and bodybuilding in Venice Beach, California, and that's known as the Mecca of fitness and bodybuilding. So if you want to be with the best, that's where you want to go. So I was doing that, and there would be a lot of pro wrestlers coming into the gym, and I didn't even really know who they were, like Luther Reigns, Mark Henry, and, a couple others. And it was just kind of like they started talking to me, and I found out that they were wrestlers, and they suggested it and said, you have a look about you, you're believable, and you should try it out. And I kind of laughed it off. And I just couldn't see myself being a pro wrestler. I saw it occasionally. I wasn't a big fan growing up with it. My brother went to a show once, and, I knew Hulk Hogan and Chyna, and that's really about it. But as I continue to run into these people, into these wrestlers, it was just the right time, the right moment, as far as I was getting tired of the competing. I no longer wanted to be a bodybuilder, because when I would see the first place winners of bodybuilding, I didn't want to look that way. So, and that's what you have to look like in order to be a professional, and it wasn't my thing. So I figured, what can I do that will allow me to still work out, be an athlete, and show that I have some talent behind my body versus just a look. Because when you're on stage flexing and posing, it's just you're showing off your physique. You can't really show what you can do with your physique. So I decided to give it a try, and I promised myself that I would not quit, that no matter how tough it got, I would keep going, and that's what I did. And I've kept my promise, even though I'm not exactly where I thought I would be by today, but, I never did quit, and wrestling has brought a lot of gifts in my life, so I'm very happy.
Now, you said that you weren't a fan of wrestling, really, when you were growing up. So heading into your training and being thrusted into that scene where, again, wrestling is male-dominated, your training classes do have very few females. Did you at all feel under pressure to try to prove yourself to the rest of the people there, especially the rest of the guys who may have had different opinions of why you might want to break into wrestling?
Actually, no. I never felt that I had to prove myself. I knew that if I did the best that I could at that moment, no matter what drill they were calling out, no matter what, and I sucked it up, that basically I was going to get the respect. I didn't feel like I had to, basically actions speak louder than words. And I wasn't the one that if I broke my nail, I'd cry and get out of the ring and say, I have to miss the rest of my class because my nail's broken. I never did that. I had blood dripping down my back because of hitting the rope so hard from running back and forth, running the ring, and I kept on doing it. And, it's just sucking things up. And I was one of the only girls in class. I was only with men. And I remember the trainer at the time, he would say, don't treat her like a girl. Treat her like a guy. And so they were like kind of forced, even if they didn't want to, they were forced to kind of manhandle me. And as much as I didn't like that, it became more of a blessing because now when I wrestle, I'm much more intense because I've been so used to wrestling men that when I wrestle a girl, it's like, it's just kind of like wrestling a pillow. unless, you're Beth Phoenix or somebody like that. So no, I never really felt that I had to prove anything. I didn't have that attitude. I just kind of just did the best I could for that moment of time, and that pretty much gained their respect.
So when you pursue wrestling, you not only are thrusted into the physicality of the business and how demanding it can be on the body, but you're also thrusted into wrestling in terms of it being a business, and being dragged into the business end of it, whether that be politics or how to compose yourself backstage or how to be marketable. And with that comes a lot of frustration that a lot of fans might not see, because there is some backstabbing, there is some chaos and animosity backstage, especially when you were involved with OVW. There was a big sense of everyone's fighting for a spot, and everyone just wants to get to the WWE, that big show. So how did you compose yourself backstage and make sure that you didn't burn any bridges with anybody?
Well, that's one thing I did not care about the business. I came into the business very naive. I'm a very friendly person. However, I didn't know wrestling etiquette, that, when you're backstage with the wrestlers, whether it be at OVW or whether it be at a SmackDown or Raw event, you have to go and shake everybody's hand, and even if they were sitting there in catering, eating their food, you still had to, walk to them, interrupt them, and shake their hand. And I always felt like I was walking on eggshells because I didn't want to interrupt them. I felt it was rude for me to interrupt them, but then I also didn't want to, I didn't want to get myself in hot water because I didn't follow proper etiquette either. So, and then as far as the backstabbing, yes, that happens a lot. I learned to kind of stay away from it, meaning I don't care for drama too much. I'm not going to get involved in it. I kind of I'm an outsider looking in, and if I would be a victim to any of it, basically I'm a firm believer of the righteous prevails, and when I first started wrestling, my wrestling name was Karma. It wasn't later on, and then WWE actually bought my name Karma and gave it to Amazing Kong. But I'm a firm believer in karma. So what goes around comes around, and if they're going to stab me in the back, I'm not going to find ways to try to stab them back in the back. I'm going to just, suck it up and know what type of person that they are and move on. So, yeah, the politics and backstage, it can be rough because you do feel like, the people are going to be ready to squash you at any moment. But I'm a believer of helping. If you help other people grow, you grow. So I never had that backstabbing mentality. But I would get really pissed off when somebody would do something to me. So, anyways, it's one part of the ugly part of the business. So.
Well, springboarding off of that question a little bit, wrestling has saved a lot of people's lives and given them, a new lease, something to look forward to and to achieve. But it has also destroyed a lot of people's lives as well. With the whole Chris Benoit thing, and then you have people like Eddie Guerrero who have had their demons to deal with, and Luna Vachon, and all of them. They were all amazing competitors. From your perspective of being in the business for so long, where do people begin to go wrong and begin to go down that dark, bad path, and what is needed to kind of dig yourself out of that hole?
Well, a lot of these wrestlers have a dream of being a wrestler. They've known from when they were a little kid that they wanted to be a wrestler. And we've all heard the phrase, careful for what you wish for. And we all see the glitz and glamour of wrestling when we first go into wrestling. And when you found out that you're accepted into WWE and now you have your chance to become a superstar, you're just flying high for a brief amount of time. But as you continue on in the business, I don't think that anyone can be prepared for the demands and the expectations of what it takes to be a wrestler. Not just with the traveling nonstop and living out of a suitcase and being away from family, but also your physique. How are you able to maintain a high-conditioned, well-sculpted physique with that kind of schedule? And if you get sloppy, let's say, with your physique, you're going to get fired, So you always feel like you have to meet demands that are really unrealistic demands. And I think that a lot of people fall into, getting involved in painkillers and, just mentally going nuts because they're scared of losing their job because this is all that they know and all that they've ever loved, and they can't picture anything else replacing it. And they want to make Vince McMahon happy, and this is you paying your dues. This is just what you have to do. So it's a really rough life. And, in a way, I'm kind of glad that I'm not, I'm kind of glad I didn't make it because I wouldn't want to fall in that same trap. And is there a way to escape it to where I can have that lifestyle and not have to pop sleeping pills or pop energy supplements to get the energy or to, whatever. I don't know. I honestly don't think I'm strong enough to handle that. So it's not about are you a strong enough person to be a wrestler in the ring. It's whether you're a strong enough person to be a wrestler outside of the ring. So yeah, it's a very. I wish Vince, WWE, would just give more rest time. Like have more superstars that can carry the. Just allow more rest for the wrestlers and let them kind of have some sort of more balance in their lives versus just being like a workhorse all the time. But, I don't see that happening anytime because it's all about money. And that's unfortunate, but that's a whole other topic.
Mm-hmm. Now, as you said at the beginning, things in wrestling rarely work out exactly the way that you want them to, for better or worse. And dealing with that frustration of not making it can be a show in its own. It can sometimes bring you really down. And you were, under contract with the WWE for a time, and things didn't work out on that end. So how do you look back at your career and the time and energy and, family obligations that you sacrificed to make a name in the business? How do you look back at that with happy memories and make sure that when things that didn't work out to the best of what you thought it was going to be, to kind of look back at that with good thoughts and not get frustrated over that?
I think everything happens for a reason. However, I have to trust that. So it's not about what Jennifer wants. It's about what's meant for Jennifer in her lifetime. And I know that I gave it my heart and soul from the beginning. And I kept positive, and I did everything that I could possibly do to, and I went the extra mile as well. I didn't walk in there and say, I'm just a pretty fit girl and I expect to get a contract. I busted my ass because I want to be, for the same reason I moved to Venice Beach, I want to be with the best and I want to be one of the best. I just don't want to be mediocre. I found that wrestling tested my character. It made me stronger of a person of who I am, physically, mentally, spiritually, everything. It's been a gift in my life. It's been a curse in my life. I felt that WWE has a cookie-cutter idea of what they want their divas to look like. I am not a platinum blonde, big triple D, busted, whatever, skinny size one girl. I would try to make myself into something that I'm not. That would make me miserable, but I felt that's what I had to do in order to get a contract. And I don't know who put it out there on Wikipedia or whatever saying that I did have a contract. WWE never signed me. I was just at their developmental training with them for, at Deep South Wrestling and at OVW for, 2.5 to 3 years. So I don't know where that came from, but WWE does know me. I've had many tryouts with them, and I trained with all their talent as far as back, in 2005, 6, and part of 7. So, do I regret my journey? No, I don't regret it one bit. I've met great people, and it's taught me a lot of lessons, and I realized that success doesn't exactly mean signing autographs or being on TV, because a lot of wrestlers who do sign autographs and are on TV, they still have a hard time paying their bills. And that was one thing that I never thought. I thought if you were considered a superstar, you were living the good life. But a lot of these wrestlers don't get paid as much money as the outside might think that they do. And but again, money isn't the issue. It's about doing what you're passionate about and what you love to do. So, and it's about being able to hang in there. And there's like I said, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it's been more of a blessing than it has been a curse. And I'm happy that it came into my life. It still is in my life. Do I have any ambitions to be with WWE anymore? No, not really. If I was given the opportunity, would I say yes? I would, yes, because I feel like I should at least give it the chance to try it and to do it and to see, if I can hang with it, Basically, my whole idea of being in wrestling and thinking that I was going to be a big superstar was because I wanted to inspire people and motivate people that, just follow your heart, follow your dreams, and it will all work out, But it doesn't mean when you follow your heart and follow your dreams that you're going to become famous. And it just means that you will be doing what you love to do and you get paid for it. And right now, that's what's happening for me, and I'm quite happy with that. I don't need to sign autographs. So I hope that answers your question.
Oh, definitely. Before we get to how people can contact you, this is always one of my most favorite questions to ask. If you could sum up your experience as a pro wrestler in just one word, what would that one word be?
Well, it's kind of 2 words. It would be bittersweet. That's the way I would sum it up. It would be bittersweet because there's been a lot of good and then there's been a lot of bad. It's been sweet and sour, so and that's what it would be. And literally, you do have to be tough enough. You have to be tough enough mentally and physically to do pro wrestling, because there's a lot of people in wrestling that I've seen training that shouldn't be there. But I'm not one to say that, because if that's what they want to do and that's what their heart is, whatever, then that's fine. I'm a believer that if your heart is into it, you do it, okay? However, don't be doing it for the wrong reasons. Don't be doing it just because, you want to go see one of the superstars that are also there or this or that, because you're just kind of setting yourself up for failure, I think. But bittersweet is my word for pro wrestling overall. That's my honest.
So how can fans or possible bookers for job opportunities get in contact with you about events for wrestling and other things that you're doing? How can they?
Well, they can definitely email me. I have wrestlejennifer@hotmail.com. So that would be my email, and just email me there, and I'd be happy to correspond with whomever wants to know more about my experiences in the business, wants to get into the business, because I do know a few people from my time, and then, or for just to say hello or whatever. So it's wrestlejennifer@hotmail.com.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Jennifer, and I really appreciated you taking out the time to do this. I know it's not easy for you to do, and I've been a big fan of your work for a long time, so for me to do this, it just means the world to me. So thank you very much.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on. I'm happy I was able to do this today, and maybe in the future, hopefully I could do it again.
Well, definitely. I'd love to have you on anytime, and you're certainly welcome. Thanks to everyone else for tuning in. Be sure to check out www.wrestling-divas, and that's divas with a Z, .webs.com for more exclusive content, and be sure to follow the site on Twitter at Wrestling Divas, again with a Z at the end, for all the latest updates.